Would I be the asshole if I sat a socially challenged kid by themselves while everyone else has a partner? Okay, so I'm an 8th grade social studies teacher. The classroom I was given has desks that are for 2 people. Most of my classes are large, so I have to put 2 kids at each desk. For the past 3 quarters, I've tried to guess who was friends with who and seat them accordingly, but there was a lot of drama and seats were switched many times over the quarters. The 3rd quarter of the year ended yesterday, so I'm switching seats again. This time, I decided to give all the kids a little note card and have them write down people they'd prefer to sit next to, and I added that they should write down if there was someone they are not okay with sitting next to. For most of the periods, this all went smoothly until my second to last period of the day. Every single kid in the class wrote down that they didn't want to be seated next to one boy who I will call Nick. Nick is pretty socially awkward, and I've noticed that the other kids typically don't like being around him. They are never actively mean to him, but they just aren't very friendly. My stepdaughter is in 9th grade but knows some 8th graders, and I asked her if she knew if Nick had done anything offensive or that would make other kids dislike him. She said he is generally kinda weird, he doesn't pick up on social cues well, and makes people kind of uncomfortable around him. There's an even number of kids in the class. However, there's one girl who has a para with her who probably would sit beside her if she didn't have a partner, and she wrote that she would prefer not having a partner if possible. There is one leftover desk anyway, so I'm considering sitting Nick by himself. I talked to my wife about it, who was diagnosed as autistic 2 years ago. She agrees that it's a hard situation because while she would hate to have to sit alone as a kid when everyone else got partners, she would also hate being sat next to someone who you specified you did not want to sit with. I considered talking to guidance about it, but I'm 100% sure they would just tell me to deal with it myself. I'm really not sure what to do. But if I sat him by himself when he wrote that he wanted a partner, would I be the asshole? Edit to add, I never told my stepdaughter about the fact that no one wanted to sit next to him or anything like that. I just asked if she knew who he was, and I said, has he ever done anything offensive or that would make people dislike him? She then told me all of that. She doesn't even know that I'm his teacher. I could have asked my foster daughter, who is in that grade and knows him, but I didn't for fear that people would start rumors or something. Edit 2, when I say he makes people uncomfortable, I don't just mean because they think he's weird and they're bullying him. He's said some things that are not outwardly offensive or bigoted, but definitely questionable. Sometimes I have to pull him out of class to tell him something he said was rude. Like for example, he once told me I look like the black character's mum in South Park. I didn't say anything then, but it definitely felt weird. That's a really weird and specific thing to say to someone, what? I looked her up just now, and I don't at all, by the way. You know, just stuff like that. Most of the kids here are people of color, and I don't want to risk them being hurt or uncomfortable by something Nick says. Also, I know that everyone says by doing the seating this way, I'm just causing more drama, but so far in all of my classes, this way has caused the least drama of all the different methods I've tried. This is just a very unique situation. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I could be the asshole because I'm considering putting a kid who is socially awkward and possibly neurodivergent by themselves while everyone else has a partner because no one wants to sit with him. Well, now that you put it like that, OP, you've just defended your case. You're an angel. Though I'm not gonna lie, if I had someone in my grade that was making off-the-cusp remarks like, yeah, you look like the mum from South Park, the black mum, I'd probably keep my distance as well, I'm not gonna lie. This just seems like a catch-22 situation, whereas he's not had enough social experience, so he sucks at it, but he's obviously not gonna get better at it, and in fact may just get worse if you put him by himself and he continues to suffer in this way, and he continues to be more of an outcast. School isn't perfect. School is about learning how to fit into society and be a part of that 9-to-5 model. I love going to the office every day. Hell yeah. I think it is on you as the teacher to force these seating plans. Do not put him by himself. You're not doing him a favor, and you're not doing the rest of the class a favor by learning that it's okay to exclude people like him. So I'm gonna say you're the asshole for this one. And now in the comments, I'm gonna go with you're the asshole, and the main reason why is if it were me, I'd just have pre-assigned seating. Also, as the teacher, you should do what you can to find out why this kid is being ostracized by literally every kid in the class. I was that kid. There is something going on with him and his behavior is a response to that. Edit. Gonna add on here that OP shouldn't have created an option for these kids to say who they didn't want to sit next to. This should have just been preferences for. And OP replies, I have in the past let kids choose their seats on the day, but in the 8th grade, it always causes drama and hurt feelings, so I felt this was the best way to do it. I'm gonna bring it up with his guidance counselor because this school has rules about teachers handling social problems, aka, we always have to tell guidance. I think he is probably autistic or neurodivergent of some kind. I am as well. I don't personally think he is being ostracized, as I usually associate that word with bullying and people being outwardly mean. As far as I can see, no one is outwardly mean to him, but whenever I've witnessed him in a social situation, he tends to make the other kid uncomfortable, which is why other kids don't want to sit with him. Every single kid in your class says they don't want to sit with him, and you don't think that's a sign of ostracization? That's really not okay. Wow. The way I see it, there is just no winning with this one. Sitting him alone would suck, sitting him next to someone else who is uncomfortable next to him would suck. Could you make one space with 2x2 people desks? The girl with a para at one desk and the other fellow at the other. That way they're not sitting alone exactly, and not quite together. Educator here, definitely right, this is a tough one. First, I'd be making a point of building a relationship with that student moving forward and trying to ascertain 1, more about him as a person, his life, etc., and 2, why and what behaviors he is showing that are causing the issues with his peers. Take a couple of minutes whenever you can to help understand this boy and help guide him if possible. Clearly, he is a student in need of extra guidance, and those small deposits you make could mean a world of difference in his future. Every child needs a champion. Secondly, I like the above idea too. Seat him at a table next to the girl and have the para pull up a chair between the two. Ask her in private if she notices anything relevant that might assist with supporting him. And lastly, I'd be taking a look at who that student wrote on his cards to sit with, and if there was any particular reason he chose them. Could be worth knowing. Maybe he prefers to sit alone also. It's a tough call, and there should always be times where you have your students interact with other people from all walks of life, because that is what their future interactions will look like, and they need practice at that. But it all comes down to making sure every child in that room is seated in the best location for them to achieve optimal learning. We all learn best when we feel comfortable and valued in the environment we are in. So do whatever you can to facilitate that for everyone. Best of luck. And now onto the update. So on my last post, I received a fair amount of criticism, which is fair considering I chose to post on here. A lot of you gave me advice on how to handle this, most of which consisted of, the other kids can suck it up and deal with it, but I still felt bad doing that. I thought for a while on how to handle it. Eventually, I made a decision for what to do, but it was still kinda risky. I went up to him before school started the morning after I wrote that last post. I told him that one girl in the class said she really wanted to sit alone, and since there were an even number of students, that would mean someone else had to be alone too, and asked him if he wouldn't mind. I said there was no reason I asked him specifically, just that he was the first kid in that class that I ran into that morning. He said okay, and that was it. It's been fine so far. This way of choosing seats has proven to cause the least amount of drama of any way I have tried it so far, and the kids like it much better. Thank you so much whoever replied to my original post, no matter what the judgment was. I did read every reply and took a lot of it to heart. And now in the comments, you know what? Maybe my teachers weren't as bad as I remember. I remember I did something like this when I was a student teaching 5th grade. I had 34 students, and Jesus, the seating chart was a nightmare. I only asked a few select kids who they did and did not want to sit next to. Kids who were struggling or had other factors, and one kiddo said they did not want to sit next to just one kid I'll call Kyle. I ended up sitting them next to Kyle, and I didn't realize it until too late. So as I was walking the kids to class that day, I went to that student and said, I am so sorry, but you know what? I have faith in you. They gave me one horrified look when they sat in their new seat, but honestly, it ended up being a great arrangement. The student who didn't want to be next to Kyle is our most social, extroverted student, and just a ray of sunshine that always made the other kids, and me, laugh. They are also our strongest reader, while Kyle was our lowest reader. Kyle was also sneaky, malicious, mean, but did it all without our teachers noticing, and then tried to tell on the other kids before anyone could say anything. We had to read a book one day out loud, and I walked up to Kyle and the extroverted student and asked Extrovert to read the book aloud to Kyle, and they were just like, "Oh, okay," and just started reading out loud, using their finger to show Kyle where they were, reading with tone inflection, and it was so great. I went to visit again recently, and they were still seated next to each other, so my master teacher must have decided that it was a great arrangement. Nick will never learn social skills if every teacher he has continues to sweep him under the rug. While I know this probably makes me an asshole, as someone who was always sat by that kid because I was quiet and nice, thank you for not sticking someone else with him. You think he doesn't know? He knows. He said yes to keep you happy. He is more socially aware than you. You were just too lazy to work to help him. Middle school is horrible and cruel to some kids, and the wrong teachers in those grades can allow kids to be traumatized because those teachers are too apathetic to do anything about it. You'll forget about this, but he'll remember this and your lack of caring for the rest of his life. There is such a fine line between forcing people to continue in situations they aren't comfortable in versus being gracious. It will be different for everybody, so I'm glad there was a solution where all kids aren't hurt or offended. I will say I did this seating twice, and honestly, I liked it. In hindsight, I don't really think that my teacher adhered to the list very closely. Most of the time, she just tried to sit you with at least one person on your list, unless all the people listed you as someone they didn't want. AKA, it allowed students to feel like they have autonomy while mixing people up to socialize. I like that OP didn't force one of the smarter, more mature female students to sit with him. Since joining Reddit, I have read many posts and comments from the students and their parents where the teacher uses a girl to parent or put up with a difficult student, thus depriving her of her right to learn or just exist. This was the direction I was afraid this post would go. On a side note, my favorite seating in school, including high school, was sitting in a group of 6 or 4 where we all were mixed up. If we were sat with friends, I goofed off too much. Sitting next to randos gave me company, and I made some friends that I still have today, many years later. And I just realized something about 5th grade. Thank you. Yup, many teachers use girls like bait dogs to direct a misbehaving child's antics. They say it's going to be that the well-behaved kid is going to influence the troublemaker, but let's be honest, how often does that work? My brief stint into childcare involved not doing that because the kids I worked with were much more straightforward. This kid hits? Putting another kid near that didn't hit was literally just putting a target dummy next to Hits McGee. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for keeping all the money from mine and my wife's baby shower?" So my wife and I are having our first baby boy. We are due in May, so we had our shower last weekend. Her family didn't really plan the whole thing other than decorating, so I ended up purchasing a venue as I wanted to make a big deal of this to make my wife feel special. I spent $2,500 on this venue, which I was prepared to do and okay with. My wife wanted something smaller initially, but I wanted to do the co-ed thing and invite my friends and family too. After paying for the place, my account was depleted and I won't be paid again for 2 weeks. So I took all the cash we were given in cards and deposited it into my account. We ended up getting about $1,600, so I only ended up paying less than $1,000 for the shower. My wife is upset about this because she feels as if the money should be used for more baby things and not to pay myself back, as she puts it. I told her I can't just have $0 in my account for 2 weeks, and she said that I should have thought of that before booking such a big space for the shower instead of doing something smaller like she originally wanted. She's also upset because a majority of the money came from her family. I honestly just assumed any money we got was going into paying for the shower, and she assumed it would be for whatever else we didn't get on our registry. I can't help but feel like she's being ungrateful about the situation, but I also possibly should have planned ahead so I wouldn't be left with no money. I will probably use the money on baby stuff anyway, however, I need gas and food money as well. Am I the asshole here? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I believe I may be the asshole because I didn't plan ahead and make sure I had enough money to cover such a big event, even after my wife stated she wanted something smaller. Also because most of the money was from her family. Okay then, that makes me question two things. Why didn't your family give more money at the baby shower? Did they give more gifts on the registry? And why did you decide to go ahead and book a bigger venue when your wife wanted a smaller venue? One no, one yes doesn't mean yes in marriages. I don't know how this concept was missed on the way to saying your vows at the wedding. And yeah, because you didn't plan ahead and make sure you had enough money to cover such a big event, that's an asshole move too. There is such thing as foresight and planning, and you went ahead and was like, you know what, I don't need to do any of those things. I'm the king around these parts. Yeah, you're a bit of a dick for that one. I'm gonna go, you're the asshole. Now in the comments, so just to be clear, 1, you did the opposite of what your wife wanted because you wanted to make her feel special, and 2, people gave money for the baby, which you were using to reimburse yourself for the venue you picked. Sorry buddy, you clearly can't be reached through normal means of communication. There is no way to reach you which is more persuasive than the bare facts. You're the asshole. Yup, other people and their wishes are secondary to OP. I feel so bad for the wife. Also, you don't throw your own baby shower. That's just tacky. If they had all these friends they just had to invite, why didn't one of them step up and host the baby shower? You're the asshole. I think other than decorating means that one of her family was going to host, but a traditional baby shower wasn't what OP wanted, so he threw himself a party on their dime. Right? Could be that relative was looking forward to throwing the shower, but he steamrolled it. If he wanted her to include some of the women from his side of the family, okay, that's a reasonable request, but he should have asked her. He could also have offered to help pay for food and asked if needed for more tables and chairs / provide music, basically help, not hijack. You're the asshole. If you didn't want $0 in your account, you shouldn't have taken that much out in the first place. That money was most definitely meant for the baby, not for you to get paid back the money that you spent on your unnecessary expensive baby shower. And edit, also, who rents a venue that expensive for a baby shower? Either hold it in a backyard or a cheaper venue like most people do. And edit 2, sorry for the assumption. Every baby shower I've been to has been held in somebody's backyard. I didn't know, again, my apologies. You know, I thought the same thing. Even if you live in a small apartment, surely you have at least one friend or family member with enough space and goodwill to host a baby shower for you. Parents? Grandparents? Somebody? I think at my apartment, the clubhouse can be rented out for a few $100, half of which you get back if you clean up after yourself. There are community halls, parks, church social halls, so many venues you can get for free or for a much better price than $2,500. Your wife is absolutely right, and it must be frightening to be 1 month due with a man who spent $2,500 on a party knowing he technically could not feed his family for the next 2 weeks. You're the asshole. What on earth were you thinking? What if no one had given money? Then what? And now to the edits and updates. Since there were too many comments to respond to, let me add some info here. I don't see it as stealing from my baby, since I don't by any means plan to spend all of this money on myself. I'm most likely going to be the one paying for everything the baby needs, and also I'm going to be helping my wife with her medical bills. My wife has money saved since her maternity leave is unpaid, so it's not like I'm just leaving her high and dry. She has money, and I don't expect her to use it on baby things. I thought I would get more money from taxes, so I did think I'd be able to afford it. Baby boy will get what he needs one way or another, but thank you for all of your perspectives. It opened my eyes. Edit 2, we got a lot of stuff for our shower, not just money. We have most of the essentials and all the big expensive things. The fact we had so many people is why we got so much stuff. We had about 110 people and definitely got more than what I spent for the venue. It paid off. A lot of these comments are assuming we only got money, and that's not true at all. Also, the shower was beautiful, and my wife had a good time, so it paid off in that way too. She's just mad now that I'm keeping the little money that we got, but if we had a smaller shower, we wouldn't have gotten all the items we did. Final edit. These responses gave me a lot to think about. I made a rash and impulsive decision because I wanted everyone to see that I could provide for my family, and all I did was prove to myself and my wife that I have a lot of learning to do. My decision to have a lavish shower was based on insecurity more than anything, and I was wrong for that. My wife did eventually agree to have the biggest shower because she wanted me to have a say since this is my baby too, but asked if I was sure that I could cover the cost multiple times. I said yes. Repeatedly, I reassured her that I could do this. I truly did assume that money given at baby showers was to pay for the shower, like how people pay for their plates at a wedding, or for whatever we as a couple needed. I didn't even think about the fact that the money is for the baby and didn't consider putting it in a savings for him, but I like that idea. I have never been to a baby shower, so I didn't know any better. Those of you who said that I should suffer the next couple of weeks are right. I will give the money to my wife and let her decide what should be done with it. Thank you for all of your responses. And now in the comments, it's kinda concerning that spending $2,500 wipes out this dude's bank account for a couple of weeks when he has a baby on the way, especially when he's this impulsive with his money. And who the hell pays for a plate at a wedding? In Spain, you're expected to give a gift that costs as much as the plate, or just give money in an envelope. To be fair, Spanish weddings are at least a 12-hour party with a 7-course lunch, a 3-course dinner, and all the free booze you can drink. Maybe not an asshole, but certainly an effing idiot to pay $2,500 for a baby shower venue, especially when his wife was apparently asking him not to. Being reassured by him repeatedly saying that he can totally afford it. Nechmanet, I now have $0 in my account. Yeah, there is a difference between I have enough cash to buy this and I can afford this. He should have learned that before he even became an adult. This guy is honestly so stupid, and I'm honestly worried about whether he'll be able to take care of his kid. Next thing we know, he'll be posting, "Am I the asshole for not feeding or changing my baby all day? I just thought I could leave them in the bouncer all day until my wife got home to do her wifely and motherly duties." And our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for throwing out my husband's dinner after he went to eat at his mum's house?" My mother-in-law calls every night to ask what we are having for dinner. She then brags about what she's cooking to make me look bad, especially if we're getting takeout. I used to care, but not anymore. But my husband would ask me to make dinner only for him to go eat the dinner his mum makes at her home, which is 10 minutes away, and then using the "that's my favorite meal" excuse. Yesterday, I wanted to surprise him by cooking one of his favorite meals, and although I was busy, I took the time off work to cook. I even went grocery shopping to get what I needed. Later, as I was setting the table, his mum called. I told him he didn't have to answer, but he did. Like usual, she asked what we were having, but acted surprised that I cooked this meal. She then went on to tell him she cooked X meal and told him to come over. He said okay, which shocked me. I said seriously? As he started dressing up, getting ready to leave. He told me no offense, but this meal that his mum cooked was even more of a favorite than the one I cooked, and grabbed his keys and left. I felt awful. I took his plate and threw it out, and then ate my portion. As I was about to put the plate in the dishwasher, he got home looking angry, saying his mom lied about cooking that favorite meal and used it as an excuse to force him to eat dinner with her. I was shocked, but he sat down telling me to go ahead and reheat dinner. I told him no dinner after he abandoned it. I threw it out. He said, "What?" And I told him he disrespected my time and effort and chose to go eat with his mum instead. He began yelling at me, asking if I really did that, then called me petty and horrible, and then went upstairs saying what I did was 100 times worse than what his mum did. I definitely feel like I let my anger and frustration get the best of me, but it really felt unbearable having to live like this for so long. By the way, I'm 26 and he's 28. Edit to add, to make one thing clear, and that's the fact that my husband only does this when it comes to food, he lived with his mum, attended community college, and loved and still loves her food and is used to it. She gave me recipes to make and I try to do that, but he keeps switching homes just to eat what he feels like. Jesus Christ, it's like stepping through a minefield, isn't it? You took time off work to cook one of his favorite meals, even though you're busy. You took time out of the day to go to the grocery shop to do it. It seems like this is an everyday thing where the mum calls and is like, you know what? Don't eat your wife's cooking. Come over here. I've got something better for you. And he answers that goddamn dog whistle every time. He's like, yes, master. You're my actual wife, mum, not my real wife. Then to add injury to insult, after he comes back, he's pissed off, he's angry at you, and he tells you to go and heat up his dinner. Get out of my house. I don't know who you are. You're a goddamn stranger to me. You're not the man I married. And if I did marry you, I made a mistake. Not the asshole, OP. I feel you. I feel your goddamn emotions. He needs to learn some respect, damn it. And now in the comments, not the asshole. Why in the world is he telling you to go heat dinner? Did a T-Rex attack him and eat his arms on the way back from his mum's? Did he try to catch a piano falling from the sky so it didn't land on a child playing and all his fingers are broke? Did he anger a forest fairy and she cursed him and now he has 2 sets of legs instead of hands? Or is that him waving a huge red flag? These are all good theories, but have you considered that her husband may actually be a stray cat enchanted to appear human? That would explain why he wanders from house to house, asking to be fed, and then picks and chooses from what's offered. If you're gonna keep a stray cat, don't forget to neuter him. Ha, pretty sure his mum beat OP to it. Not the asshole. Your husband can either commit to eating at home with you, tell you well before dinner that he's eating with his mum, or he can make his own meals. Until he starts regularly making a choice to be home, or go with enough time for you to plan and prep your cooking, please, cook enough for only you. He's on his own. Edit to add, I wasn't going to say that because I feel it's obvious, but I can't help myself. This is much larger of an issue than dinner time. There is a profound lack of respect in your relationship. Husband needs to snip the apron strings at the very least, but really, he needs to spend some serious time thinking about what a marriage and partnership actually means. Not the asshole. You didn't make him lick the empty plate, did you? I say that you were restrained. My mother-in-law was an award-winning Southern chef, my husband is a chef, my son is a chef. I cook well, but I'm not a chef. Not one of them has ever disrespected my cooking. People who are genuinely good at something and confident in their abilities don't usually feel the need to put others down. This a million times over. Talent isn't afraid of other people's interest and ability, also not the asshole. And now onto the update. Hi, waving emoji. I posted my situation here almost 24 hours ago and haven't really read every single comment because, wow, there is just too many. I saw a few pieces of advice and encouragement, and I'm so thankful for them. Love heart emoji. But just wanted to let you guys know something since this is a throwaway account and I will be abandoning it soon. I just want to let you know that I will be sitting down with my husband soon after he breaks the silence. I'm just giving him the space that he said he wanted, and I'm going to show him the post in hopes that he'd see how none of this was my fault. So I'll also be pushing for couples counseling, although he's always been against it, but we'll see how things go. I'm not gonna lie, I still feel upset and like my efforts aren't being appreciated. His mum is definitely onto something with her little upsetting stunts. I realize how important boundaries are, but also realize how enforcing can be difficult. I'm hoping and praying that we will tackle this issue so that our marriage won't suffer. But if he's still somehow unable to do his part, then that's on him, and I'm no longer willing to go through similar stuff and just take it, you know? So yeah, this is it. I honestly didn't realize my post was going to gain this much attention. And now in the comments, OP's husband is so illiterate, he can't even read the room. I so want to know if our husband saw reason after he read the post and comments. I was raised that if you have a plan with somebody already, and somebody else offers you a new plan that sounds like more fun, you do not abandon the original plan for the new one, and this is so wrong to me and so inconsiderate, I can't even. I would have done the exact same thing that she did, and I'd be furious if I were her for him to now be mad at her for what he did. That principle you talked about is one of the core principles of etiquette. You do not bail on your commitment to someone for something more fun. It is so incredibly rude. I would literally never cook for him again. My favorites? Hell yeah. My murder of crows? Yes, they would get fed. The feral Sasquatch living in the cave system? Sure. After all they did to help hide the body. What? No joke. This type of thing ended my in-laws' marriage. She tossed dinner in the trash, and it was the end. 40 years later, she still won't cook a pot pie. It'll probably be the end of mine too. I literally stopped cooking for my husband unless he specifically asks for a certain meal at a certain time. Like, he needs to say, make chicken teriyaki for dinner today. If he says, let's have Mexican sometime this week, it doesn't count. I was so sick of cooking stuff I didn't even like, only to please him, and for him to just not feel like it. Now I just cook for myself and my toddler in mind, which is rather repetitive, but at least if my kid dislikes the food, I don't feel bad about having to eat it in order to avoid waste. Alright guys, hope you liked that one. Let me know what you thought about it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!